Bricklayers' horror at gun-blasted bodies. A bricklayer today revealed the horrifying moment when he and a friend stumbled across the blasted bodies of 3 slain men. Ken Jiggins and Peter Fearbold were on their way to feed pheasants at Mr. Fearbold's White House farm in Retterton on December 7th, 1995, the Old Bailey herd. But as the pair tried to speak to the driver of the Range Rover to move it, they were confronted with the ghastly sight of the assassinated men. Mr. Jiggins told the court, "I tapped on the driver's window, looked in and saw the driver lying with his head on one side. There was blood coming from his nose, mouth and on his chest. The passenger sat with his head slumped forward and blood on his chest." As the pair dialed for the police on a mobile phone, they noticed a third body in the back. Earlier, the jury in the triple murder trial of Jack Worms and Michael Steele heard how Worms compared himself to the angel of death after gunning down 3 drug barons. The prosecution claimed that Michael Steele made the chilling comment to getaway driver Darren Nichols after killing the friends with the help of his right-hand man Jack Worms. Steele also told how victim Pat Tate squealed like a baby and broke the car window as he tried to get away, said Andrew Munday, QC, prosecuting. The court was told Mr. Tate, Craig Rolfe and Tony Tucker went to the rendezvous in Workhouse Lane, Retterton, believing they would discuss a lucrative cocaine deal. Steele was travelling with them. Worms, wearing overalls and Wellington boots and carrying a large bag, was allegedly lying in wait for the drug barons, but as the vehicle pulled up, Tate's mobile phone rang. His ex-girlfriend Sarah Saunders was on the line. She had seen him earlier in the day and recalled he was hyped up, clearly excited. Mr. Tate told her they would speak later. The time was 6:45 p.m. At 6:59 p.m, Nichols, who had dropped Worms off for what he thought was a business deal and was waiting nearby, received a call on his mobile. Worms allegedly said, "Alright Darren, come and get us." When he arrived, Worms climbed into the car, wearing surgical gloves splattered with blood. Steele was delayed as his gun had fallen apart. The prosecution claimed the pair then began dismantling their weapons as the shell-shocked Nichols drove off. Steele allegedly then remarked calmly, "That's sorted them out. They won't threaten us again." Mr. Munday told the jury, Steele marvelled at what Worms had done, telling Nichols he was a cold-hearted bastard. The prosecution claimed that Steele and Worms had fallen out with Tate and his friends over a cannabis deal, leaving Steele feeling cheated. Steele, 54 of Great Bentley, and Worms, 36 of Brockford, Suffolk, denied killing Mr. Tate, 37 of Gordon Road, Basildon, Mr. Tucker of High Road, Fobbin, and Mr. Rolfe of Cowshire Avenue, Chavett 100. Worms and Steele also faced a charge with Peter Corey of London Road, Clacton, of conspiring to smuggle cannabis between August 1st, 1995 and November 10th, 1995. All 3 have pleaded not guilty. Steele is also denied a separate charge of illegally possessing an 8-shot pump-action shotgun. The trial continues. Farmer's shock over gun blast bodies. The farmer who chanced upon a Range Rover containing the blasted bodies of 3 drug barons admitted he was astounded when police claimed it had been parked there overnight. Peter Fearbold told an Old Bailey jury he thought the vehicle and its grisly load could have only been there a matter of hours, as there was no ice on the windows and no snow on the roof. Yet when he and his friend, bricklayer Ken Jiggins, had set off from nearby White House farm that fateful morning, they had been forced to de-ice their Land Rover windscreen. It had been frosted up by the cold weather and a light layer of snow which had fallen. Mr. Fearbold said, "I just didn't think the Range Rover had been there overnight." The dead men were Pat Tate, 37 of Gordon Road, Basildon, Tony Tucker, 38 of High Road, Fobbin, and Craig Rolfe, 26 of Cowshire Avenue, Chavett 100. The prosecution claims they'd been lured to their deaths with the promise of a cocaine deal. 2 men, Jack Worms, 36 of Main Road, Brockford, Suffolk, and Michael Steele, 54 of St Mary's Road, Great Bentley, deny killing them with a shotgun. The court heard that Mr. Fearbold used Workhouse Lane in Retterton, the scene of the murders, twice a day to feed pheasants kept on his farm. On the 7th of December 1995, Mr. Jiggins was with him as they drove down the remote and bumpy track at about 8 a.m. It had snowed sometime during the night, and the pair, wary of poachers, kept an eye out for fresh tyre tracks on the lane. But as they reached the last gate before the woods, they found the Range Rover blocking their way. Mr. Jiggins went up to the vehicle and tapped on the window before making the gruesome discovery of the bodies inside. The pair alerted police, and 2 uniformed officers who arrived less than 20 minutes later faced a daunting task. PC Barry Knights and Sergeant Chris Atkins had been on a normal uniform patrol when they had received the call to Rettendon. Neither were prepared for the scale of destruction they found. When they saw the 3 slumped bodies, they got straight on the phone to the force's Chelmsford HQ and asked for reinforcements. Within hours, the quiet country lane was swarming with police and scenes of crimes officers as the huge investigation began. The trial continues. Farmhand tells of finding trio shot dead. A farmhand yesterday recounted his discovery of 3 drug dealers who had been shot dead in the back of a Range Rover. Kenneth Jiggins, who had worked on White House Farm in Rettendon for 25 years, told the Old Bailey he peered into the vehicle to find 2 of the men covered in blood. The Crown alleges Michael Still, 55, ordered the horrific gangland killings after falling out with one-time friend Patrick Tate over a batch of poor quality cannabis resin. According to a police informant, Mr. Tate put up £70,000 towards the drugs and was seething with anger as he sought to get his cash back. The court had heard how bitter recriminations and threats followed as Steele lost face in a big way to Mr. Tate, 37, and was forced to eat humble pie. Mr. Andrew Munday, prosecuting, said Steele lured Mr. Tate, alongside his associates Anthony Tucker and Craig Rolfe, into a deadly trap on the 6th of December 1995. The men had driven to the remote farm track on the promise of involvement in a lucrative cocaine deal. Mr. Munday alleged Steele and co-defendant Jack Wilmes, 36, were also said to be involved in drug runs by boat into the UK during 1995. Giving evidence, Mr. Jiggins said that around 8 a.m. on December 7th he and the owner of the farm, Peter Fearbold, drove along the track in a Land Rover to feed pheasants. However, a vehicle was parked in the way of the gate they wanted to go through leading to a field. There was a metallic blue Range Rover parked against the gates. I got out of the Land Rover, went over to the Range Rover to ask who was inside to move it so we could get through the gate. I tapped on the driver's window. I wasn't actually looking through the window. There was no response or answer, so I turned and looked into the window. The driver's head was lying to one side. There was blood coming from his nose. There was blood on his chest. The passenger was sitting with his head forward. Mr. Jiggins said there was blood on his chest as well. I turned to Peter and said, "There's 2 men in here. They've been shot. They're dead." Peter came down and I moved out of the way. I had a mobile phone and I phoned the police. As I was making the phone call, Peter said, "There's one more in the back as well." Mr. Jiggins told the court he told police what they had found and then got right out of the way to avoid disturbing anything. Steele of St Mary's Road, Anglers Green, Great Bentley, and Wilmes of Staff House, Main Road, Brockford, deny the 3 murders. Mr. Tate lived in Gordon Road, Basildon, Tucker in Heath Street, Fobbing, and Rolfe in Cowsher Avenue, the Chafford 100 estate. Steele, Wilmes and Corey of London Road, Clacton also deny conspiring together with others to import cannabis resin into the UK between August 95 and November 95. Steele alone denies unlawful possession of an 8-shot pump-action shotgun between January and May 1996. The trial continues.